Hi, this is Mike Fox, and I'd like to go over my website with you. The colors in the which is the banner, the logo. I've used these colors since 1974 when I first ran for public office to the legislature, and I first saw these colors used in a campaign in 1968 with Bill Saxby running for United States Senate. I was at Miami at the time, and I thought, well, if I ever run for office, I certainly will use these colors. And I did, and I have ever since. There's my logo. I just decided, well, make that my picture. Not that it's so much appealing, but it seemed to fit the theme which I'd used in my campaigning and so forth. The navigation bar works fine the way it should, and I have on the footer I decided to put a quote on each footer and quotes that I like. This one I found at Frederick Douglass's house in Washington when I went to tour it one time. And he's an amazing, amazing man. There's my last speech in the Ohio House on the floor. And here's my colleague saying nice things about me. Roast, where I had lots of folks come in from all over the country to celebrate my 20 years in the legislature. And this was my just phenomenal. I mean, the accomplishment of the legislature, aside from the things I did here locally, that was most impactful when I brought $500 million worth of technology to kindergarten through fourth graders in Ohio. Here's some essays I've written and an opportunity for someone to write their own stuff that I can place in this just as a blog type thing would do. Here's the about. There's me greeting President Reagan. This was in Columbus. This is Buck Reinhardt, former mayor of Columbus. He's since died, unfortunately. Corwin Nixon, a dear friend of mine, who was leader of the Republican caucus in the Ohio House. He's since passed on. And here I am with Governor Rhodes, longest serving governor in Ohio's history, 16 years. Amazing, amazing man. This picture's in front of Harrison Hall. Vice President then, Bush, in his 1988 campaign. I chaired the campaign here for him in Butler County, and I'm standing next to a man that I think was just the most phenomenal president of Miami University ever, Dr. Phil Schreiber. What an incredible person. And this guy, for a fellow that has walked on the moon, he was pretty down to earth, as much down to earth as you could get. I worked with him on the Ohio Commission on the Public Service, very unassuming and amazing. I was in awe of the guy. And my three things, here's my family, my mother and father. My mother grew up was born and raised in this house right here in Flat Creek in Clay County, Kentucky. Uh, no water, no electricity, no heat, no air. I mean, as primitive as you can get. And she grew up in that kind of environment. It's amazing. Here's my wife, Mary Ann, also a Miami University graduate. And I was lucky to get her. Here's me with my father, a 32-year police officer in Hamilton, Ohio. My favorite picture of my wife and her father, who is a general. Now, she's the general of our family, but this guy was such a good person. He was just kind, considerate, and I was lucky to have him as a father-in-law, as I was his wife Elizabeth for a mother-in-law. And now we start our own family. There's my son, Ryan, and Ryan Michael Fox, and here he is when he with his wife Annie, and here he is more recently. He's starting a biotech company. He's involved in that, and here's our daughter Ashley, and when she's very young, and here she is in Times Square with her husband to be at that time when they got engaged, and she had the first of our grandchildren, twins, Avery and Taylor. And here they are a little bit later, and here they are more recent, and they love soccer. Here's my son's two children, Harper and Bren, the youngest. Boy, Bren has lots of energy. And here I got Bren and Harper in their dance outfits, and here are all the grandkids together, and here's the whole family together. And uh, my contact page pretty much speaks for itself. I have, so people knew where to write. I put that in there, and then they can send questions and so forth. And the one new thing I learned from Olivia, Olivia taught me, I never heard of this, called felting. And it requires far more patience than I could ever muster in this lifetime. But she is skilled at it and she enjoys it, and a lot of other people do. So they asked me about what uh, part I'm particularly proud of. Well, I can tell you, I'm proud that I was able to get it done. I'm a kind of a, I'm not in the digital world like you kids are. I just, I'm an analog guy. And so it was quite a challenge for me to pull this together. What was most difficult for me, the linking the CSS to the HTML code. I had trouble with that. What, if anything, would I do differently? I don't know. I don't want it to be as confining. I was concerned that it might be a little too confining, and because I've seen some of your web pages, and I tell you, they're wonderful and they're very wide open and refreshing and clean. And I don't want this to be too overwhelming. So anyway, thank you for your attention, and God bless, and I wish you the best.